Hey, what's up YouTube? Evelyn here from the Reckless Mike. And in this video, we're going to talk about Xbox coming to Helldivers. And I did not hear too much people talking about this. I have not been intentionally ignoring on this subject. I just have not been looking. Hopefully, we as PlayStation gamer, we're going to accept Xbox to open arms into this into the Helldivers community because, well, Helldivers is a great game and it's definitely a game that should be shared among other people, and it's a great move for the for Helldivers in general. So, I have no animosity towards Xbox players. I am looking forward to actually showing people the ropes in this game, and hopefully they love it as much as I do. With that being said, Xbox coming to Helldivers is a great thing for Helldivers. Is not a great thing for the gaming industry in general, and I'm going to explain why. And I don't believe that the industry is as strong as it used to be, and that's because we don't got no competition. And yeah, so you still got PlayStation and Xbox, and I think it's pretty unanimous. Nobody can really say that Xbox is bringing that much competition to PlayStation. And I'm not saying that out of hatefulness. I'm not saying that out of spite. I'm not saying that because I'm a PlayStation fanboy. I'm just saying that just being truthful about the industry. We just don't. I don't see Xbox being a threat to PlayStation, and this is not where I would like the industry to be at. I want competition between the two brands because that's just only gonna be better for the consumer. Because when you just got PlayStation leading the way, and we can kind of see it now, PlayStation is getting kind of lazy. They're not, bringing them out as many IPs as they used to. They're, everything's getting more expensive. As far as PlayStation Plus is concerned, and even with Xbox bringing out their Game Pass, which is like an awesome deal, really awesome. PlayStation still don't see it as a competition because it's not really affecting their console sales. So unfortunately, I don't really see this as a as something that's great for the industry. It's great for the game. It's not great for the industry though. We need that competition. We need the we need it to be how it used to be. And just in case you don't know how it used to be, competition used to be fierce among PlayStation and Xbox. But even prior to that, it was fierce between Nintendo and Sega Genesis, or Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. And before then, it was it was a competition between like ColecoVision and Atari, and then Nintendo versus the Sega Master System, or maybe the Atari 7800. But the competition used to be fierce. Like I think peak was Super Nintendo versus Sega Genesis. You just had two companies that were going back and forth with each other. Sega Genesis was the more aggressive of the two, but Nintendo, they just came back with like just great IPs to go up against Sega Genesis IPs, and for the most part, if you had to say which one won, obviously Nintendo won that one, but not by a large margin though. So you know, and in my opinion, the next major competition to come out was in the between the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and Game Gear, which is Nintendo. You know, there was more competition. You know, you had like the N64, PlayStation, and I believe it was a Sega Saturn. So, you know, there was always competition, and there was always three, you know, at the time. Sony and Nintendo's been around forever, and but Xbox is like right there, and so. But the next major competition was PlayStation 3 versus Xbox 360, and this happened because PlayStation 2 was on top. PlayStation, Sony, they got a little cocky. And so when they came out with their PlayStation 3, they intentionally made it hard to program for. And a lot of it had to do with the software they put into it. They put in like this really bizarre software that was really hard to program for. But it gave out great results if you learn how to program for it. You know, but you know, PlayStation attitude about it was, oh well, everybody's gonna learn how to operate on our platform because we're on top, we're untouchable. They just gonna have to learn to deal with us because we're the industry leader, and we want to change the industry to make everybody submit to us in the way we do things. And you can be the industry leader as much as you want, but you're not going to change the industry. And you know, PlayStation ate some humble pie on that one. Well, let me rephrase that. You can change the industry, but you cannot change the industry the way you want it to be molded. You know, so you know. So, anyways, so PlayStation came out with a console that was really hard to build to program for, and Xbox has decided to just do what they do best. You know, it's Microsoft. Hey, we can make this. We can make it real easy to program for. Yeah, it's not gonna be as powerful as PlayStation, but by the time they figure things out, you know, we're going to be the industry leader. And that's exactly what they did. They came out with a console that was easier to build for, that ran more in line with the programs that the developers was using. And the result was when the PlayStation and Xbox had their games come out, it was looking better on Xbox. It was running better on Xbox. And that's only because PlayStation was just a little harder to program for. And after PlayStation got to eat some humble pie themselves, they went ahead and they sent out some PlayStation guys, or they sent out some recordings, or you know, they basically was trying to teach everybody how to program for their console. PlayStation also brought out, you know, the PS3 was very advanced for this time, and it came out with a lot of features that really brought the cost up of the PlayStation. So, you know, while getting into all the features that they had, let's just say they stripped down a lot of the features that were not needed, and pretty much, you know, brought the console price down to match Xbox. They invested time and money into teaching people how to program for their console, and they also spent some money on their development, and made it so, you know, they just brought out some really great games to compete against Xbox because at the time, not only Xbox came out with a console that was easier to program for other developers, but they came out with some bangers themselves. You know, in case you weren't around for this, Xbox came out with Halo, Gears of War, Crackdown. Crackdown was a you basically play as a superhero cop, and it was just an awesome game to play because you started off a little weak, but you progressively got stronger, and the game itself was just so much fun to play. I'm not doing it justice. If you have a chance to sit down and play Crackdown, you should play Crackdown. It's a great game to play. Unfortunately, it's a little sad that their sequels did not match the original, but that happens a lot in the gaming industry. But on top of that, they also made some deals with Valve, and they got the Left 4 Dead series on their console as well. And Left 4 Dead is a killer IP. And not to mention, they got Mass Effect, the original one, on their console first. And so you had all these like different IPs coming out for 360, and they were just bangers. They were just like great games to play. And really, it has a PlayStation guy. I couldn't argue with Xbox 360 people about the great games that they were coming out with. They just came out with some really great games, and it was great competition. Because PlayStation had to answer back in order for them to stay relevant in this console space. Because they went from number 1 to number 3. Because we're not going to mention this is when the Nintendo Wii came out, and the Wii is like one of the best-selling consoles of all time. Yeah, I think it's neck and neck with the PlayStation. I'm not sure which one's the best at this point, but at that particular moment, the Wii was the best-selling console. The only thing it came with an asterisk because, Wii was the best-selling console, but they did not sell that many not that much games. So they just had like one really great game that everybody played, and then the rest was just like games that I'm not saying they had bad games. It wasn't that many though. Let's just say when you had the Wii was it turned to be a console that complement another console. So like most gamers, I should say, because they were casuals, but most gamers, if they had a Wii, they also had either a PC, Xbox, or PlayStation. And most of the time, most Wii's is collecting dust. So, like, yes, we're going to mention Wii in this lineup, but as far as competition is concerned, it wasn't much competition. But like I said, PlayStation brought their bangers too. They had some really great games. I'm not going to say Xbox had the best games out there, because they didn't. They had great games. Oh my god! And if I was a 360 guy, I'd be pretty happy with that. With the games that they came out with. We had the Infamous series. The what else we had? We had Killzone was a great IP. They also came out with I'm losing it. Drake's Collection or Drake's Fortune. They had God of War. Not to mention The Last of Us came out for the on PlayStation 3. So PlayStation came out with some really great hits towards the end of its life cycle. Towards the middle and towards the end. And which Xbox came out with some great games, like generally towards the towards the beginning of his life, and then towards the middle. I think towards the end they got a little lazy with it, and it's gonna show their laziness or their cockiness with the next console generation, which is the Xbox Series, no Xbox One, and the Xbox One. Man, it's kind of hard to describe Xbox One. It kind of they definitely dropped the ball on the Xbox One. So uh, when they announced Xbox One at E3, you guys should see it. It was a incredible way of how not to announce your console. And PlayStation 3, they had a bad E3 launch too, but not as bad as the Xbox One. Xbox One, they introduced DRM, which basically they wanted to use DRM to stop you from playing used disc games. So if you bought a used disc game, they were going to have you pay like a $10 fee to get the license for that game. And it also came out with this, always online feature, which was not a feature. It was a something to hold you back on, because if you weren't online every 24 hours, the Xbox would stop you from playing your single disc games. And I don't even know how they were planning on spending this as they benefit towards the player, because it wasn't. And they came out with the Xbox Connect, which they had to connect on the 360, and it did monetarily well. But unfortunately, at the time that they brought it out, the motion control fad was just a fad, and it was going away. But for whatever reason, they wanted to stick to it, and so they force you to buy the Xbox Connect with your Xbox One, driving the price up $100 more than what it should have been. So you had DRM, you had always online, and then Xbox statement to the always online thing was, if you do not have internet connectivity, you can just get an Xbox 360, which is a horrible way to sell your console, to sell your brand. So they kind of like fell off to the gamers, and the gamers voted with their wallets, and they waited for what PlayStation was going to say. And PlayStation did not do anything revolutionary in this particular console market, unlike the PS3, which was probably the most advanced. No, not probably. It was the most advanced console to ever come out at the time. And, if there was some type of way to, come up with, a measurement of how advanced this console was, for the time, it was the most advanced console that ever came out. Period. But the next console, which was the PS4, it did not have backwards capability. It was not more powerful than the Xbox One. The Xbox One actually, numbers wise, was more powerful. It was minute, but it was more powerful. And at the time, these consoles, when they came out, they were like mid-range at best on most PCs. So, nothing revolutionary. But what PlayStation did do, though, they took advantage of what Xbox was telling their players, and so they said, "Hey, we're not doing DRM. We're not gonna force you to, pay extra to play used games. We're not gonna hinder you whatsoever on used games. Um, they said we're not going to make you check in every 24 hours, and then they're not going to make you buy accessories you don't want to buy. So you don't want the PlayStation camera, you don't have to have their camera. You can just buy the console. So they were $100 cheaper than Xbox. So you mean to tell me that you're gonna bring in PlayStation IPs? You're gonna bring in the console that's almost as powerful. I mean, when we say almost, it's like so minute. It was so little, but it was just as powerful, for lack of better words, than the Xbox. At $100 cheaper, and they're not gonna do DRM. You know, they're not gonna do DRM. They're not gonna make you check in every 24 hours. And they were saying that we're for the players and all that stuff. Their messaging was, we're for the players. We're for you. We're for the little guy. We're all about the players. And when Xbox One, the reason why they call it Xbox One, because they want to make it an all-in-one. They were trying to make it, so you could, watch your media on Xbox, and which, yeah, you can watch your media on PlayStation, but that was not what that was not the message that they wanted to convey. Well, Xbox wanted to convey that message, that you can watch all your media through them. Your cable, your Netflix, or wherever else you want to watch, Wheel of Fortune, so, Xbox was sending out this message like, yeah, we're going to be all on one. And, the players were like, well, what games are you going to come out with? So yeah, it was a very confusing message they were sending out to people. And what they did say concrete, it was not a player friendly, consumer friendly message that they were saying. So, and PlayStation took advantage of this, and rightfully so. They made a short video like, on PlayStation, this is how you loan out your game, or this is how you give your game away, or whatever. And they just handed the disc off to one person, handed their disc off to the other, and the other guy said thank you. They did not make a confusion whatsoever, unlike Xbox, where you had to if you did want to loan out your game at the time, you had to put them on your somehow you put it on your we put them on your friends list and made them program it onto your console that they were borrowing your physical game. And so when they put in that particular game that was linked to your Xbox, they were able to play the game. Very confusing. I can't even tell you how it was going to happen. And I watched the damn thing. So, Xbox got a little cocky there. And so PlayStation just took it and ran with it. And Xbox was never able to recover. Unfortunately, they just one bad move after the other. They... I know a lot of the games they were coming out with, they were they had their hand in the cookie jar. It's kind of like, PlayStation, for the bad I can say about them, the good that they do is to kind of let the developers make their games and make them how they want to make it. So, but unlike Xbox, it's kind of no, we want this, we want you to put in this, and, and the stuff that they wanted to put in there was stuff that was not good for the consumers. It was good for Xbox bottom line, but they did not have the consumer heart in mind. So take away features so you can sell it to them later, or just changing the gameplay perspective so it falls in line with more of something that we could charge the players, for subscriptions or loot-based things, or just kind of like also, hey, we need this game out and we need it out yesterday. Instead of giving them time to cook, they just, made them put out a game that was not finished. So, these are not great things to do, if you want to be in good competition. And they just constantly did stuff like this, to their games. And they kind of ruined their own games. So games that should have been like really great IPs. I can't remember what games they were. They had this vampire game that should have been a great one to do. They also had this this game where you play as a pirate. It, and it should have been a great game. And again, if you're listening to the developers talk about, how the overheads, I believe it was Xbox, telling people how to run their games, it's not great for the consumer. So, Xbox, I really hate this, like, make it seem like Xbox is the problem, but, Xbox was the problem, as far as the state of where the console market is at today. And you can put some blame on PlayStation too, Sony, because they themselves are hindering the console market as well, just by their lazy actions. But I'm really hoping that another company or Microsoft just comes out with just a better console, I guess, or a better way of making their games. Anyways, I think I already I spent out everything I wanted to say. I think we'll just end this rant as of right now. But I hope it was not boring. And I'll catch you guys later.
Liberty is victorious once more. Welcome aboard, Helldiver.
Mission coordinates locked. Hellpods prime. Engaging orbital